Calling to order the Monday, April 15th, 2019 regular meeting of the 37th Council of the City of Berkeley. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard.
Here.
Councilmember Dean.
Here.
Councilmember Gavin.
Here.
Councilmember Hennon.
Here.
Councilmember Stedman.
Here.
And Mayor Turbrack.
Here. Our first order of business is the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Mayor Pro Tem with support from Councilmember Dean. Are there any changes or additions? Seeing none, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Blanchard.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gavin.
Yes.
Hennon.
Yes.
Stedman.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
And Turbrack.
Yes. Tonight's agenda has been approved. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge. With us today is Pastor Adam Groh.
Let's pray. God, we're thankful for a chance to gather together to do the good of the city. We ask your blessing on this time. Would you give discernment to these council members? Would you bless them for their sacrifice that they make and their families make on behalf of the city? We pray that you would be with the city, be with our police officers, be with our school teachers, be with all those who serve in this city. Lord, we pray for our city. We pray for all conversations and discussions that happen tonight. Would they be done with in peace and in compassion? We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. It is now time for citizens' comments. When you may present your thoughts on issues that are not included on tonight's agenda. Council members will not engage you in discussion, but if your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff or department of the city, please sign your name on the sheet provided on the clerk's table. As a reminder, you may speak on a specific agenda item while it is being considered. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and city of residence.
Good evening. I'm Patty Curtis. I live on Kenmore in Berkeley. I have here a copy of the Berkeley City Code, Section 42-73, regarding DDA projects and finances. I'm going to give a copy to the city clerk to be entered into the record as a reference to what I'm speaking about. For the record, it reads, the DDA will not propose any projects or purchases without a sufficient revenue source to support the proposal. The proposal must be reviewed with comments by the city's auditors as to the stability of the proposed resources. This information, the projects, ongoing projects, previous projects, was FOIA'd at the end of March. On April 1st, a reply was received from the city clerk's office saying these records do not exist. We specifically asked for copies of reviews and comments from the city auditors on these projects: the Coolidge Road narrowing and restriping, wayfinding signage, including engineering and installation, the MOGO bike rental systems, consultants who advised on the creation of a 501c3 nonprofit or corporation, and any or all projects on DDA streets. There were none of these financials filed in, that's a violation of section 42.73 of our own city code because the documents do not exist. My question for you, and you don't have to answer, I put my email address on there. Why is the council accepting any DDA proposals without these comments from the city auditors, not the treasurer or anybody else, but the auditors? Why are you accepting them in violation of section 42.73? And where are these auditor reviews? I am a specifically interested party to some of our projects. I live within 300 feet of the DDA district. I need to see this information. For example, I don't want to see this road striped, have it fail for the road diet and then have them not have any money to restripe it. I know you have the details to work out, but they haven't presented you any of their specific financials with the appropriate auditing. You don't need to reply tonight. I signed in. I would like a detailed explanation from all of you as to why you are not following this code. I'm looking for specific answers. I'm not looking for the canned answer of that is often used. Thank you for your interest. I will certainly look into it. Don't even bother with that. Give me some specifics. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. I said thank you, Patty.
Charles Terrell from Berkeley. To build on what Patty asked for, I will ask that you stop all of these projects until this section of the code is in compliance. So the restriping that's supposed to take place, what, the 22nd or whatever the date is, stop it and not let it go forward until this is in compliance, please.
Thank you.
Rachel on Oxford. I'm going to second and third Patty and Chuck. All DDA projects need to be stopped until the auditor's written comments for these projects that the DDA has proposed are received and are available to the public. Otherwise, we are in violation of our own rules. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening, Kurt Height, Berkeley. I had sent an email to council to outline some of the concerns I had stemming from the January 7, 2019 Coolidge Road diet discussion. I had received 2 responses, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Dan and Dennis. And so other of you might have read it by now, but I also wanted to share these concerns with the residents at home that are watching. The information I'm discussing starts just after the 1-hour mark on the January 7th council meeting that's on YouTube. But during the meeting, attendees and residents were informed that prior to the start of the Coolidge Highway Road diet evaluation, the following would occur: that there would be benchmark metrics or indices would be clearly defined, definitions of what was being measured and baseline comparisons, means by which the metrics would be statistically analyzed, a comprehensive statistical traffic sampling study would be conducted on residential side streets. Now that was finished, and determine potential impact due to lane reduction to determine the potential impact. That was finished, but following that, it was a process would be implemented to collect feedback from residents on any issues or concerns. It was conveyed or implied that the feedback would be used to compare accurate data that resulted from the traffic analysis. And so we'd have a comparison of all that, and we would know what we were expecting. It was stated that all these items would be completed before final approval, and that the resolution of support being considered was just to get the ball rolling. It was felt that there were additional steps along the way that the city or the council could use as an opportunity to stop the project if it was determined that Coolidge Road diet did not meet the needs and the criteria initially outlined. As we know, there was an attempt to start the evaluation this week, the 17th, I believe it was, which has now been pushed back to the 22nd. I'm a bit apprehensive that things were pushed to the side and are now being rushed at the last moment, and it's being done prior to the original promise date, which was in May. So while even if they end up doing it, whether it's the end of this month or if it pushes into May, I just wish that all this stuff could have been done over the previous 2 months. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your comments on this.
Thanks, Kurt.
Maureen Monty, and I live on Wakefield, near the post office. I'm here tonight on the behalf to speak with and on behalf of the people that are a part of the inaugural Berkeley Public Safety Citizens Academy. Right? It was absolutely fabulous. I'm going to give some bullet points, and then other people can share their own perspective. If you weren't aware, and I suspect you were, but it was a 7-week program in total, culminating in a graduation pizza and cake party, of which some of you were present, which we appreciated after a long day. And Lieutenant Kobernick and Lieutenant Miller worked very long and hard to put together materials for the 6-week program. Ditto the detectives and legal teams that spoke to us. Long story short, we had, there's Lieutenant Kobernick now, who was, and Chief, come on in. Come on.
Don't be shy.
Guys. Yes, I do. That part wasn't necessary to say. So we learned about an overview of the city of Berkeley, the major challenges and what we see the most of, which in itself was enlightening. We had a legal overview. We had the detectives talk to us about the work they're doing in the school and fingerprinting and some of the things that they do in terms of drugs and testing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then we had to go to the simulator and learn what it was like to be faced with some very difficult challenges if we were real police, public safety people on the street. Then there was shooting in the range. And then we had fire night where we learned about fires and jaws of life and things like that. It was absolutely outstanding. The couple of things that I noticed about, in addition to the topics, was the teamwork, the team and leadership that went on between the guys. And my business is teams and watching how teams work together. And I was very impressed with both the leadership and the morale and the collaboration that's gone on between everybody there. Not just the officers themselves, but we did our little ride around with kind of spend 4 hours with a policeman in the vehicle, public safety officer in the vehicle, and I was impressed with like dispatch even, right? There's a lot going on. There's things happening on the computer, there's watching stuff, there's people in dispatch. I was completely blown away by how much is totally going on. The trust between them, the trust between us, listening to us listening to them, learning more about what they do on a daily basis, and I only wish all in the community could experience this. I rode along with Officer Bunting, who was absolutely outstanding, and I was super impressed with the shortest lecture ever to someone in the back seat on why stealing is stupid. And I like very direct conversation. That was very direct. So positive outcomes. We can see that the Berkeley Public Safety Department has needs that aren't being met, some of the building stuff, some of the resources. We, as part of our first cohort, and we're not the last, there's going to be more, want to support them with what they need. I know you're working on the budget and that sort of stuff, but things like perhaps a canine dog and things like that. So we're going to be, this is the first of many aspects of our teamwork, not the last. And my awareness of what the public safety, a resource the public safety department is, in that if we can look at our public safety people as resources rather than are they with us or against us, I think that there's so much to be shared, and if we can find ways like Velcro to stick and communicate and share information, that would be the best. Keep Berkeley a great place to live. Finally, you know it's a good thing when 23 people start in a room and they sit silently next to each other. And by the time we were done, everybody's chatting with everybody around the tables and chatting with the officers, and there was all these connections made amongst ourselves. And that is, only good things can come from that. So. Is that you, Mary Lynn? Mary Lynn's a sharpshooter, by the way. You should see her in the simulator. So that's all I have to say. I can't say thank you enough. Let's give these guys a hand.
Yeah. Thank you, Maureen.
Charles Terrell from Berkeley. I was so glad to be a part of this. And I would encourage anybody else who's thinking about it, think about it. It is not easy. It is very hard. You will be challenged in your thoughts and your thought processes. Anything you thought you may have known before you came in will be challenged. And, you know, everybody was free and open with the way things really are. The discussions on use of force was just incredible and changed my mind on a lot of things. You will also be, if you choose to participate, you will be exposed to some very dangerous things. You'll be supervised by some absolute experts, but what you're going to be doing is absolutely dangerous. And for some of my cohorts who were not comfortable with it, they at least were there, they participated. They may not have always fired every weapon or taken every fire hose or put on all the gear, but they were there and they at least tried things. And that in itself was huge. A fantastic program, and what I saw, especially on my ride along, the esprit de corps amongst the officers, the command, everybody involved with public safety is just incredible and is to be emulated. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Natalie Price, Berkley. I also participated in the Citizens Academy, and like Maureen and Chuck said, I was very blown away, impressed by the teamwork, by how open the officers were to get feedback from us and answer our questions, by the fact that so many of them volunteered their time after working really long shifts, really long weeks, to educate us and interact with us and get feedback from us. And that ongoing dialogue, it was a joy to be a part of. I learned so many things. I got to do once-in-a-lifetime experiences like the Jaws of Life, and also practice using a fire extinguisher, which I've never done before. And now I'm confident that I'm capable of doing that in my own home. So just a few tips that I wish I would have known before this, little tricks for all of us. You know, having a fire extinguisher on every floor of our home and one in the garage. Having our fire extinguisher not too close to the oven that we'd have to reach over the flames to put out a fire. Little insights like this. I'm like, oh, I need to change some of the things that I have set up. And one way for the detectives we can make their lives easier is by locking our vehicles. So simple things I learned, some tips and tricks that I'm eager to pass along to other people as well. So thank you for all of the great lessons, the in-depth ones and the simple ones. I learned a lot, and I'm so grateful for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Cameron Rye. I live on Bacon here in Berkeley. I just wanted to kind of echo what Maurice, Chuck, and Natalie had to say, and if we could just give another round of applause to our excellent public safety.
Anybody else from the Academy? Well, I want to congratulate all of you that participated, and those of your cohort that weren't able to be here. I heard nothing but great things from the very beginning of this process, and certainly want to thank Jordan, Corey, Chief, everybody else who had a hand, all the folks who allowed for ride-alongs. Folks in our community have obviously the utmost respect for what you guys do on a day-to-day basis, and there's nobody else we'd rather have protecting and serving. But when citizens have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about what you do and some of the decisions you have to make, it obviously increases that bond and the respect for everything that you guys do. So it's obviously not easy. It's difficult, and you guys gave your time to have a positive impact on this community, and I certainly doubt that that's going to be the only one. I think we're going to have a number of those in the future, and hopefully at some point I'll be able to sneak into one of those things. But thank you guys. It's absolutely wonderful, great for our community, and that's what makes our public safety officers so special. They care about the community, and we're willing to do this. So thank you, and please pass that along to everybody else over there that was involved. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Time to move on to our consent agenda. Ms. Boucher, would you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
Approve of the minutes. Matter of approving the minutes of the 37th City Council meeting on Monday, April 1st, 2019. Warrant. Matter of approving warrant number 1337. Proclamation P0319. Matter proclaiming May 2019 as Berkeley History Month. Proclamation number P0419. Matter of designated May 2019 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Proclamation number P0519, matter of proclaiming May 2019 as Motorcycle Awareness Month. And Resolution R0719, matter of designating the month of April 2019 as Fair Housing Month in the City of Berkeley.
Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Gavin with support from Councilmember Stedman. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on tonight's consent agenda?
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennan?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
And Turbrack.
Yes. Consent agenda has passed. We now move on to our regular agenda. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 1 on tonight's regular agenda?
Recognition presentations. Matter of any recognitions or presentations from the consent agenda.
I have asked Mayor Pro Tem Baker to read Proclamation P0319.
Thank you, Your Honor, and I see that we are joined tonight by the Chair, the Vice Chair, and one of our esteemed members of the Historical Committee. If you guys want to come up, this would be a great time to do so. And as they make their way up, it's my pleasure to read a proclamation of the Council of the City of Berkley, Michigan, proclaiming May 2019 as Berkley History Month. Whereas, in 1819, the first settlers arrived in what is now Oakland County, and in 1825, a 4-day steamboat service between Detroit and Buffalo enabled many settlers to shorten their journey west as they made their way from New York and New Jersey. Travelers were greeted at the Red Tavern, owned by Mother Handsome on Woodward and Columbia. John Benjamin made his way from New York and purchased 80 acres of land and built a barn on the site where Roseland Cemetery now sits. And, whereas, the settlers continued arriving, building their farms and raising their families. The first school was built in what is now Berkley in the late 1830s. In 1910, the first phone line was strung for 10 homes along 11-mile road between Berkley and Royal Oak. In 1919, a town pump was built and electric lighting arrived. And in 1923, Berkley became a village, and in 1926, the first Berkley Days event was held. And whereas, on May 23rd, 1932, during the Great Depression, and with just under 6,000 residents, the village of Berkley became a city, with a mayor, 6 commissioners, a city clerk, treasurer, assessor, judge, and constable. And whereas, since its early days, Berkley has flourished into a city of nearly 15,000 residents, boasting 8 schools, 9 parks, a state-of-the-art library, over 6,000 homes, and a unique downtown. City of Berkley ranked number 4 for the National Council for Home Safety and Security's Safest Cities in Michigan for 2019. The city ranked number 9 for pennygeeks.com Top 10 Cities and Towns for New Families in the United States. These awards are points of pride in the city and reflect the true community efforts. And, whereas, history is made every second, every minute, and every hour. And with the dedication of a great group of volunteer members of the Berkley Historical Committee, its membership gathers information and assembles that information into a format for us to treasure for years to come. Now, therefore, the City of Berkley proclaims, Section 1, that the month of May 2019 is hereby proclaimed as Berkley History Month, and City Council invites every citizen to become acquainted with those who settled here, raised their families, and started their businesses by visiting the Berkley Historical Museum. And, Section 2, the City Council urges those familiar with stories or legends of these early days in Berkley to share their accounts and their photos with the members of the Historical Committee so that they may be retained for the pleasure and benefit of others. Proclaim this 15th day of April 2019 at a regular meeting of the Berkley City Council. Signed, Daniel J. Turbrack, Mayor. Thanks.
Would you guys like to make a few comments, please? Hey, Sue.
Hi, I'm Sue Richardson, and I'm honored to be the chair of the Berkley Historical Committee. And as Mayor Pro Tem Baker said, the month of May has been declared the Berkley History Month, which is appropriate since May was when the city was formed. And so we, members of the Historical Committee, are planning a number of things to celebrate that. Of course, as usual, we will have a booth at Berkley Days, as we always do. And then we have a very exciting announcement that through the good graces of Dan and Patty McCarty, who have the McCarty Group for real estate, kindly made for us a mini-series of 2 to 3 minute videos. The whole thing runs to 30 minutes that highlights the city and the museum. It was very professionally done. We never could have afforded this ourselves. And we couldn't be more grateful for them for doing this and showing their civic pride. And this is now going to be shown on WBRK, so you should be watching for the announcement of when that will be shown, and I think you'll learn lots of things about the city that you didn't know. And now I'd like to turn it over to our Vice Chair and Curator of the museum, Jeff Tong.
Thank you. Two other things we'd like to bring to your attention. Starting May 1st, we're going to have a What Happened Today posting on our Facebook page. And every day in May, you will find like May 1st, what important thing happened in Berkeley history. On May 2nd, what bizarre thing happened in Berkeley history. Some of them happened in this room. But I think you'll find them entertaining and interesting. And also, we're putting up a very large display all about the history of restaurants in Berkeley. I have found, putting pictures on Facebook, nothing gets people more interested than a restaurant and food in Berkeley. I mean, I can do a long, detailed history analysis of something, and there are 2 likes. I put up a picture of Nip and Tuck, and there's 8,000 likes. And I can feel the excitement building for Berkeley History Month. I mean, in this room and across the city, I know everybody's so excited, and I know they're wondering, can I get my house decorated in time in the next 2 weeks? Do I have my cards ready? Have I done my shopping for Berkeley History Month so I can get my gifts out to all my friends and relatives? Well, if you still have some shopping to do, surprise, surprise, we have your Berkeley gifts, including our new mug. And we're getting fairly low. We ordered 288, and we're more than halfway through selling them. So we have our books, our mugs, our Post-it notes, our posters. So get your shopping done early. Don't be caught trying to buy all your Berkeley history gifts for your friends the night before. So, we look forward to sharing all this with the people of Berkeley. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jeff.
I just want to introduce our other member here, David Milner, who has been on the committee, 3 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been a very active member, and we're very glad to have him. And we have, a small but dedicated group of members who keep the museum running and spreading the word about history in Berkeley. And obviously, we couldn't do it without your support. So I hope you'll continue to, keep us in your minds and keep us going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Take that back. Excellent job, Sue.
I was president.
Make me.
Bit of a promotion.
Okay. Thank you, Sue and Jeff and David and the committee for everything that you guys do to keep the history, the past alive and exciting and interesting. And the job that you do all of you do at the museum is inspirational. And everyone that goes through there always loves to see and reminisce about all the old times and getting ready for what's going to happen in the future. So thank you all very much. Next up, I have asked Council Member Stedman to read P0419.
This is a proclamation of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, designating May 2019 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas mental health is important for our individual well-being and vitality, as well as that of our families, communities, businesses, and whereas 1 in 5 Americans experience a mental health illness that requires treatment at some point in their lives, and whereas 1 in 10 children has a serious emotional disturbance that, if untreated, can lead to school failure, physical illness, substance abuse, jail, and even suicide. And whereas May 9th has been designated the National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day, and whereas stigma and stereotypes associated with mental illness often keep people from seeking treatment that could improve their quality of life, And whereas mental illness is a biologically based brain disorder that cannot be overcome through willpower and is not related to a defect in a person's character or intelligence. And whereas mental health recovery is a journey of healing and transportation, enabling people with a mental illness to live in a community of his or her choice while striving to achieve his or her full potential. And whereas mental health recovery not only benefits individuals with mental health disorders by focusing on their abilities to live, work, learn, and fully participate and contribute to our society, but also enriches the culture of our community life. And whereas the Oakland Community Health Network, OCHN, and its service provider agencies are committed to inspiring hope, empowering people, and strengthening communities. Therefore, the City of Berkeley hereby proclaims May 2019 as Mental Health Awareness Month in the City of Berkeley. The City of Berkeley also calls upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses and schools in the City of Berkeley to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental illness and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental illness to promote recovery. Proclaimed this 15th day of April 2019 at a regular meeting of the Berkeley City Council. Daniel J. Turbrick, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Stedman. I've asked Councilmember Dean to read P0519.
A proclamation of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, proclaiming the month of May 2019 as Motorcycle Awareness Month. Whereas the City of Berkeley has many citizens who are concerned about motorcycle safety while touring, during recreation, and daily transportation. And whereas the month of May is the nationally recognized month motorcycles become more prevalent on our streets, the need to be more aware of their presence is of the utmost urgency. And whereas, due to the Pure Michigan advertising campaign and the modification of the Michigan helmet law, many out-of-state riders will be visiting our state and using our roads. And whereas, an overwhelming number of car versus motorcycle accidents could be avoided with due regard, respect, and awareness of motorcycles on the streets and intersections of this city. And whereas, the inclusion of motorcycle awareness provided by ABATE of Michigan as a distinct part of the driver education curriculum and motorcycle rider education programs will help to promote safe driving and motorcycle riding practices. And whereas, it is in the interest of our community and the citizens of the City of Berkeley to note the increase in the amount of motorcycle traffic as we enter the warm months to enable the reduction of accidents and injuries involving motorcyclists. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on this 15th day of April 2019, the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, hereby proclaim the month of May as Motorcycle Awareness Month in Berkeley, Michigan. Proclaim this 15th day of April 2019 at a regular meeting of the Berkeley City Council. Daniel J. Turbrack, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Dean.
You're welcome.
And I've asked Councilmember Gavin to read R0719.
Thank you, Your Honor. A resolution of the Council of the City of Berkeley, Michigan, designating April 2019 as Fair Housing Month in the City of Berkeley. Whereas the month of April 2019 marks the 51st anniversary of the signing of the federal fair housing law under the Civil Rights Act of 1968, and whereas this landmark law, along with other federal and state legislation, broadens access to housing regardless of race, color, sex, national origin, age, marital status, religion, disability, or family status, and whereas the intent of Congress in passing the Fair Housing Act was broad and inclusive to advance equal opportunity in housing and achieve racial integration for the benefit of all people. And whereas Fair Housing Month is designed to heighten people's awareness of their rights under the law when pursuing the purchase of or rental of housing, and whereas equal access to housing is an important component of this goal as fundamental as the right to equal education and employment. And whereas housing is a critical component of family and community health and stability, and whereas housing choice impacts our children's access to education, our ability to seek and retain employment options, the cultural benefits we enjoy, the extent of our exposure to crime and drugs, and the quality of health care we receive in emergencies. And whereas the laws of this nation and our county seek to ensure such equality of choice for transactions involving housing, and whereas ongoing education, outreach, and monitoring are key to raising awareness of fair housing principles, practices, rights, and responsibilities, and whereas the housing counselors of Oakland County's Community and Home Improvement Division are experts in fair housing laws and are ready to assist any individual or family to ensure their rights when purchasing or renting a home. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that Berkley City Council celebrates April 2019 as Fair Housing Month in the city of Berkley, Michigan. Be it further resolved that Berkley City Council believes it is important to have an open and inclusive community committed to fair housing and to promote appropriate activities by private and public entities intended to provide or advocate for integration and equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents in the city of Berkley. Introduced and passed at a regular city council meeting on Monday, April 15, 2019, Daniel J. Turbrecht, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Gavin. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 2 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M2219, matter of approving the Berkeley Lions Club to collect funds during the Lions White Cane Week from Thursday, April 25th to Friday, April 26th, and Thursday, May 2nd to Friday, May 3rd from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. The collection will take place at the intersection of 12 Mile Road and Coolidge. Approval is conditional upon the submission of required items and documents prior to event dates.
Is there a motion to approve M2219?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion approved by Councilmember Dean with support from Mayor Pro Tem Baker. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, the Lions Club has a long-standing tradition of doing this event here in the community. This year is no different. They've placed in front of you their application as well as all the required documents that we need. Included in the packet as well is a memo from our public safety chief, as well as approvals by all the affected departments. And after review the entire packet and all the provided information, the departments are recommending that we approve this item.
Okay. Questions or comments from council on M2219? No? Good. Okay, just double checking. All right. Thank you. As was mentioned, this is a long-standing group in the city of Berkeley. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M2219?
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennan?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
And Turbrecht.
Yes. Move on to item number 3. Ms. Boucher, would you please read the third item on today's agenda?
Motion number M2319, matter of approving the Berkeley Art Bash event on Saturday, June 8, 2019, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on 12 Mile Road for the Berkeley Area Chamber of Commerce, P.O. Box 72-1253. Approval is conditional upon the submission of required items and documents prior to event dates.
Is there a motion to approve M2319?
So moved.
Support.
By Councilmember Gavin with support from some people. Councilmember Dean happens to be closest to me, so that's when I have the loudest.
Lucky me.
Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Speaking of annual events that we get very excited about, it's time to start looking forward to June 8th for the annual Art Bash. In your packet, there is a memo from our public safety chief again, as well as the application materials, again, approvals and reviews from each of the departments, as well as this item also comes with a recommendation from the appropriate departments to approve this item. And then we're joined by one of our wonderful members of our Chamber of Commerce as well, who put together all this wonderful information that made it so easy to review.
Oh,
Hi, Roseanne.
thank you. I'm with the Berkeley Area Chamber of Commerce. I handle their community events, and we are excited to bring this. This will be the 18th year. It is one of the events that brings depending on weather, 8 to 10,000 people to downtown Berkeley, not only residents, but we draw people from throughout Metro Detroit to see our great downtown and our great businesses. If you talk to a lot of the business owners who have businesses on that, in the area where we closed down, they'll tell you it's one of their best days of the years sale-wise. So not only are people coming down to visit the art vendors and the activities, they are shopping and eating in that area.
Are there any changes coming up this year that our residents should be
No,
aware of?
actually, it is basically been the set pattern of where we've closed the streets for the last couple years, and with the amount of applications we get, it's pretty much set what you're seeing. There might be a slight tweak in where maybe sponsors are located, but for the most part, we've really put together a pattern that seems to work best in the layout. So based on what we've been doing for the past years.
Excellent. Any additional questions for Roseanne or comments?
Thank you.
You've done a great job. We are excited for this year's iteration. 18th straight, yes, yes. It seems that we're either really warm or not so great, so maybe somewhere in between would be okay? Okay. All right, seeing no additional questions or comments, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Hennan.
Yes.
Stedman.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Blanchard.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gavin.
Yes.
And Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 4 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M2419, matter of authorizing the city manager to execute agreement with Hubble Roth and Clark Incorporated, 555 Willard Drive, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan 48303, to perform professional engineering services at a cost not to exceed $21,762.76 for the proposed demolition of the Berkley Ice Arena. This expenditure will be charged to account number 546-697-931-000.
Sorry, what was that account number? Is there a motion to approve M2419?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Dean with support from Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we've been talking about now for a couple of years at this point, the Berkley Ice Arena is no longer able to meet its primary purpose. Several secondary purposes have been suggested over time and closely evaluated in the hopes that we could find some way of salvaging this building and once again making it an active part of our recreation amenities. But unfortunately, nothing has worked out up to this point. The building now is to the point where it is generally unsafe to occupy. There are a number of structural issues as well as roof leaks. And there's issues with plumbing and electrical and most of its major systems. So in order to try to make that space salvageable again, what we are proposing to the City Council is what's outlined in the scope that you see before you would be to remove the building itself as well as all the underground, the plumbing, and then level it off and allow it to be sort of open rec space. We're hoping the reason this is coming for you now for something that would be a budget item for next fiscal year is we're trying to make sure the timing works out such that it can't ill affect anything like camps or baseball or school or anything like that. We're trying to wedge it into a very specific window here so that all of our community groups that use the space as well as Teresa's department, they can continue running without a hitch. So obviously in the memo, in the packet, there's a fantastic memo authored by our Parks and Rec director, and then Roland Alex from HRC is also here to represent answer any questions on the scope of the document.
Good evening. To be clear, so everybody at home is clear, this is not what's before you is not to demo the building. It's the proposal for HRC to take us through the bidding process, getting bids back for the demolition, and then take us through the construction and the completion of the project at the end of September. So you would see another bid before you sometime at probably that first June meeting that's in the timeline after bids come back for the demolition. So you'll see this proposal here before you tonight, and then the proposal or another bid for the demolition in June from a demo company, and HRC will walk us through that project and then also manage the construction as it's ongoing with the demolition. I think the city manager explained why this is happening, what's happening. The last event that took place in the arena was Berkley Days 2018. There are other provisions being made for Berkley Days to happen on our site, in our community center, and around the community center for this year and moving forward. And as the city manager said, by rec space, it will just be rebuilt as open green space that we can do a number of different things with. Many people have made a lot of suggestions. I think we'll get to that as we see the green space coming back after the demolition is done. And we're here to answer any questions, Roland and myself.
My first question is, are we legitimately worried that the community center might fall down?
The community center or the arena?
No, the community center when the arena comes down.
No.
No.
The buildings are really separate, and a lot of people don't understand that, but they are really separate. So I'm not concerned about that. I don't think our engineers are concerned about that.
Yeah, obviously, that is one of the more precarious portions of the project, that and the homes that are adjacent to the arena. But the design and the bid documents will be clear that the homes around the site shall be protected. Working hours will be limited to limit the disruption to the community, and then obviously the actual connection, the physical connection between the arena and the Parks and Rec building will be obviously of paramount importance, and we will clearly specify what portions of the building should be removed and which portions should be supported and protected during demolition.
And in this picture, it appears that the horseshoe pits are to be untouched at this point?
At this point, the horseshoe pits would probably, some of them would go away. Our thought is that actually we may move them to be in a better area so that there'd be more actual open green space. So we've talked about moving them a little bit closer to the community center, but at this point they would be they would be in the demo, and then that would all be open green space, and then we would maybe look at adding some of them back.
So at this point, they are all part of the demo?
Correct.
Additional questions? Councilmember Blanchard?
Thank you, Your Honor. Do we know how much work it's going to take on the back of the community center to preserve it? I know that we got some roof connection areas there, but I know part of the back wall of the community center is not in good condition. The parts you can see is not in good condition, and I'm just concerned that when that comes down, do we have any idea of how much work it's going to take to make sure that that's structurally sound?
At this point, we do not. That as part of our scope is to evaluate that disconnection of the two buildings and to make sure that that wall of the Parks and Rec building remains intact. So that is that will be considered during our design.
And if I can add, Councilwoman Blanchard, the worst wall that we have is actually that east wall, not the south wall that's connected. So although there are issues with the south wall as well, the east wall is the one that has the most significant issues.
Yeah, the east wall is bad, the south wall is not quite as bad, but it's not good.
You're right.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Councilmember Gavin?
Thank you, Your Honor. Roland, can you expand a little bit on what you're talking about in terms of protections for surrounding houses in the neighborhood?
That's
when it comes down.
That's a great question. Most demolition or all demolition contractors will be whoever's going to bid on this will have lots of experience. That'll be one of the provisions of the bid, is that they're experienced. They have experience with this. The proximity of those homes is not very close. Their property is close, but the homes themselves are not close. So there'll be provisions as far as which direction the contractor can demolition the building from, limiting any access or limiting any debris that may fall across the property line. That'll all be specified in the bid package. Obviously, a very detailed walkthrough will be conducted pre-bid, so before the contractors bid on the project, we'll walk the site with them. We'll discuss the overhead power poles that are along that property line, the fencing that's there, the necessity to maintain those. That'll be all very clear through the bidding process. As far as days of the week and hours that they're able to work, those have yet to be defined, but those will be very defined. We'll work with the city staff, work with Teresa, with council, with Matt, to determine what hours we want to limit the contractor's access to that, and that will help to limit the disruptions to the community.
If I can add, one of the reasons why the timing is happening now and why we're trying to get the bids done in order to get the project started is July and August are the times that the least amount of activity in terms of our baseball fields. We don't have summer baseball. That ends at the end of June. School isn't in session. And so from the engineers, we know that the most active work will happen for 4 to 6 weeks. There will still be a lot of backfill and more happening after that once school starts, because the project really won't fully in until the end of September, but the most amount of work will happen for 4 to 6 weeks, so that most of July and then into August, when there isn't as much activity in that arena lot and is kind of open, and then it will reopen when there's baseball and high school sports and all that sort of thing happening.
Thank you both very much.
And just to further that, we will require security fencing around the area to make sure the site is secure every night, to make sure that it's locked up tight. There's no access for the average pedestrian to wander into this work zone. There'll be very strict requirements to make sure that the site is secure at night.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Councilmember Hendon?
Thank you, Your Honor. Are we expecting any environmental cleanup required from any chemicals from the ice arena?
Sorry, I'll start and then maybe Roland can add on. We've obviously talked about that, and that's been a conversation that a lot of people have been concerned about. I'm not a chemist. From what I understand, 2 things. One, all of the Freon safely went out of the building over 2 years ago. We had a company that came in and it was a very secure environment and it went out. Now, there were obviously leaks, which is what led the ice to not be able to operate anymore and to freeze. From what I understand and from what I've been told, the Freon, once it goes into the air, because it's a gas, that shouldn't be a concern. However, that will be part of ongoing, we'll keep an eye on that. And if we do find any issues or anything needs to be tested, that's not in this proposal, but that would be something that we would add on as we go.
So at this point, we're not too concerned about the Freon issue. The unknown is what may have resided on the site prior to the arena. We have no idea. We did do soil borings. We don't expect there to be much. This isn't a heavily populated intersection where you may have had a gas station in the past, but there is an unknown element as far as once the building is removed and they start to demo the foundation and they dig down, the likelihood is they won't find anything, but that is a little bit of the unknown, is that there may be some issues, but we're not expecting any of that.
Okay.
Have we taken samples? Have we taken any?
We have not, no.
Nothing yet?
And typically you wouldn't, unless there was a known previous usage of the site that may have given a warning. It was a storage site for a DPW yard. Not that your DPW yard's bad, but things like that. It's a known. if it had known history, we may have taken samples, but there's nothing to indicate that there'll be anything above anything unique.
We did. A couple of years ago, when the Freon was not working, when the arena went down, we did take samples then, and they were clean. I mean, we drink the water, like the staff, and everyone around, and tons of kids and senior citizens and everyone that's in our, hundreds of people that are in our building every day. So we did. It was water testing in October of 2016.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for bringing this to us. Obviously isn't something that we want to celebrate, but it is a responsible next step given the almost 50-year-old facility that wasn't designed to live nearly as long as it had. A couple quick questions. Is it part of the bid package, or do you have any insight now as to which route they would take to remove the debris from the site? Are they going to go Catalpa? Are they going to go out Sunny Knoll? Do we know yet? Is that part of the package?
I could guesstimate right now, but I won't. That would be part of the bid package, is developing a haul road, is what that's kind of referred to.
Haul road, okay.
A haul road of
hauling,
how they haul off the material.
Of course.
And then we'll also define what parts of the site they can sit on, and most likely they'll be sitting right on what is currently the horseshoe pits, and they'll work their way down the building, tear parts of it off, load the truck, and haul that off, and that could be part of it, is to define what routes they have to get to the main thoroughfares.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, 2 more quick questions. First, in terms of the communication with the residents, obviously there's we have a lot of questions and parameters coming into this process here. What's the communication approach that will be taken to folks in the immediate vicinity and to the broader community in terms of the nature of the project?
Yeah, so I think obviously the broader community, we would use a lot of social media and other types of mediums, or website, city website. For the immediate residents, we would do probably like a hand flyer at their homes. We did that we've done that with some other projects that we're going to focus on one specific park. So that would be what I would see happen for those immediate blocks on Robina, and then also near Sunny Knoll and Oxford there.
And part of that, similar to what we've done with other projects in the city, specifically Harvard, is we put an HRC direct contact so that on that flyer, on that door hanger is a contact. It'll be our inspector who's going to be there 2 times a week is what we've proposed. And they'll be available via cell phone all day long, and there'll be a single point of contact, probably along with Teresa or somebody from her staff would be a secondary contact.
Great. And my final question has to do with the site itself. Obviously, underneath that, as you mentioned, we're not exactly sure, but one thing we know is in the vicinity is the 12-town drains, the George Kuhn thing. To what extent, if any, is the county waterworks folks involved with this? Are we sure that we're safe enough from them with bringing in the gear and doing all these things that we won't have any impact to the 12-town drains?
That's a great question. I'm not familiar if there's any. I don't believe there's any drains directly on site. I don't think that'll be an issue. We'll get soil erosion permits, which is from the county, but from a different division of the county. I can't foresee any conflicts with the Drain Commission or
Sure.
any of that.
Yeah, just as a thought coming into it, obviously, right? Because as we did some of the conversations about location for potential future community centers, we talked about weight restrictions on where the pipes were underneath and all that kind of stuff. So we certainly want to make sure there wasn't any heavy equipment, machinery, debris, those types of things that could get in any way of the infrastructure that we have in place.
That's a great point, and we will look at existing infrastructure, and if there are shallow utilities or utilities that we need to protect, we would preclude those areas from having construction equipment on them.
Great, thanks. And I see our DPW director there. He certainly has all the insights into where everything is under there too. A good partnership, I'm sure, will ensue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments about this? As Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, it is incredibly unfortunate that we are at this point, much to, I'm sure, everybody's dismay, but at the same time, the building doesn't do much good to just be sitting there in a state of disrepair, so we have to move on, unfortunately. So with that, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M2419?
Stedman?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennan?
Yes.
And Turbrack.
Yes. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 5 on tonight's agenda?
Resolution R0819, matter of authorizing the mayor and city manager to execute an agreement with the Berkley School District to collect and remit their July 2019 property tax levy.
Is there a motion to approve R0819?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion approved by Councilmember Blanchard with support from Mayor Pro Tem Baker. Mr. Baumgart.
Thanks, Mayor. This is an annual item. As many people know, we collect on behalf of a number of different entities. One of them is the Berkley School District. That makes it easier for everyone coming in to pay their taxes. It's a one-stop shop. It all comes up on a single bills and itemized, of course, but just this is a good reminder that a portion of that does in fact go to the school district, and we collect only on their behalf. That money is given back to them as we settle up with the county. So annual item as we get closer to our summer tax levy.
Any questions or comments on this annual item? Councilmember Blanchard?
Just to confirm, this agreement is the same as in the past years?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hennan? Yep.
Thank you. And just as for comment for the folks at home, just when you see your tax bill, remember, we're not getting all of it. You know, a lot of it goes to other folks. So don't think that we're rolling dough up here because all that money's coming to us. So thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Boucher, please call the roll on R0819.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennan?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. Now move on to item number 6. Ms. Boucher, please read item number 6.
Resolution number R0919, matter of authorizing publication of a notice of public hearing regarding the proposed operating budget for the City of Berkley, Michigan for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Is there a motion to approve R0919?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Approved by Councilmember Stedman with support from Councilmember Gavin. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff is getting closer and closer to delivering to the City Council for your consideration a proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year starting July 1. Part of that is to advertise and hold a public hearing that, and whereas we publicize our proposed tax levy for this year, as well as during the same meeting, we'll talk about, our sanitation fees, as well as water and sewer fees and the like. But this will be used for advertisement for the for the advertisement for the public hearing for the operating budget, which would be on May 20th. So just closing in quickly here.
Any questions, comments? We all get excited for this public hearing. Councilmember Hennon?
One question, the capital improvement millage that we just passed for the road, water infrastructure, does some of that money go to the DDA?
Splitting hairs a little bit, since we have a TIF, which is operated by the same board, but the TIF, actually, the tax increment financing, is what actually captures it. The DDA has its own millage associated with it, but you're correct to say the DDA will benefit from it in part because they also operate under tax increment financing district, which does capture a portion of this millage, yes.
Okay. That part that they capture, are they required to spend it on infrastructure?
It would have to be, yes, they would have to maintain that consistent with the language that was passed, I believe.
Okay.
And again, we're discussing with the DDA on how to, and because this was dedicated for a specific purpose, and because the residents want to see this, go into where the need is. If an agreement can be fostered with the DDA in order to, give back some of those monies, so that it can go where the voter intended.
Okay. Thank you.
Additional questions, comments? Seeing none. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on R0919?
Blanchard.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Gavin.
Yes.
Hennon.
Yes.
Stedman.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes. R0919 has been approved. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 7 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M2519, matter of approving the 2019 summer maintenance agreement between the Road Commission for Oakland County and the City of Berkley.
Is there a motion to approve M2519?
Motion to approve.
Support.
It's approved by Councilmember Dean with support from Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Baumgart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Included in your packet is the memo from our Department of Public Works Director, Derek Schuler, as well as the letter from Rosciosi and the agreement itself. This is a continuation of the partnership that we've had for a couple of years, in which, in order to get things done expediently, we actually would do some maintenance work on 12 Mile, despite the fact that it is under the county's jurisdiction, and this agreement outlines exactly how the city would be compensated for that. So I know DPW Director can speak to some of the details on it.
Director Schuler.
Thank you. Nothing has changed here. This is our usual agreement with RCOC. In fact, the unit prices for 2019 are the same as previous years. So what this covers essentially is street sweeping on 12 Mile Road. So RCOC jurisdiction, but the City of Berkley handles that duty because we believe we can provide a higher level of service related to those sweepings. So the county reimburses us for approximately 3 sweepings. I would estimate we sweep 12 Mile between 7 and 10 times a year, so significantly more than 3, but 3 is all that we're allotted, so we'll certainly take it. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I also want to quickly let everyone know, too, that 2020, 12 Mile is likely to see a resurfacing project by the county. Some of you may have already heard this. It's still in the very early stages, but we are expecting some road improvements to 12 Mile in our downtown, which are sorely needed. So this is something we've been lobbying for quite some time. I'm expecting it to be a mill and overlay type project. that will have some federal funds involved. So that's just a little tidbit. Lots more to come on that in the months ahead.
Thank you, Derek, for that sneak preview. And as we look again at the item in front of us today, any questions or comments? And as Mr. Schuler mentioned, this is not only identical in form, but it's identical in cost, so there is really nothing, unfortunately, that has changed this year. Seeing no questions or comments, thank you, Mr. Schuler. See you again in a minute, I think. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Sorry. Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennan?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
And Turbrack.
Yes. We now move on to item number 8 on tonight's agenda. Ms. Boucher, would you please read that?
Motion number M2619, matter of approving the rental of a catch basin cleaning machine from Vacuum Truck Rentals of Livonia, Michigan, at a cost not to exceed $20,000 from account number 592-536-818-000 contractual services, and in accordance with the Mitten BidNet public bid documents.
Is there a motion to approve M2619?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Approved by Councilmember Blanchard with support from Councilmember Stedman. Mr. Baumgarten?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As mentioned in the motion, this did go out to Mitten, the Michigan Intergovernmental Trade Network, so we were able to get bids, or at least solicit bids from vendors across the state. Inside, you've got those specs as well as the results of that bid. Also included is the justification and memo from Mr. Schuler.
Thank you. So this is a budgeted line item that we have for cleaning of our catch basins. This is a relatively new thing, not cleaning the catch basins, but the rental of a unit. We've done this 1 or 2 times before. So what we want to do is basically rent another combination sewer machine. This is that large machine. I know some of you have seen it. We own one at Public Works, a relatively new one that we're very proud of. That machine's primary focus is working on the public sewer lines, and so that machine is out regularly inspecting, televising, cleaning our public sewer. And so what we'd like to do, similar to the last time, is rent an auxiliary unit to be operated by our staff to go out and just do the catch basins themselves. So we'll clean the catch basins, the sumps, and then put the larvicide in that we've talked about previously as well. That's sort of one succinct process, and we'll go through 1,800 or so public catch basins and perform those activities. We did go out to bid. We received 2 bidders, of which one was really qualified or had all the appropriate information. One bidder basically said that they could not meet our insurance specifications, which I'm still a little bit questioning, and more to come on that, I suppose. But I was happy that we have maybe formed another relationship with another company that I wasn't aware of that rents these type of units. These machines are valuable to us as a community. They're valuable to a lot of contractors as well, so it's nice to know that there's another resource out there. I've talked to the company. I've called some references as well, and I'm pleased to report nothing but positive things to say. The pricing that you see before you is very consistent with the last time that we did go out to bids, so I'm comfortable moving forward at this time with the unit pricing as shown. Happy to answer any questions.
You already asked. Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a comment so that people know, one of the reasons we do this is so when we have rains, our water will flow and not, catch basins won't be clogged up. We can get the water out of the streets and into the drain, so it's part of our program to keep basements from flooding. And they've done an excellent job so far doing it.
Thank you. So every catch basin, or most of them, have what we call a sump at the bottom of the catch basin that's meant to hold sediment and material, and so that sump has a purpose. Its purpose is to hold that material so that it doesn't go down the line and potentially cause other issues. So you want to be able to clean those sumps out regularly from road debris, whether it's stones or whatever the heck might enter the catch basin. So that's what this is used for. And then you have got a clean sump that can take the larvicide tablet as well, and then that tablet remains in there for several months working.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for bringing this to us again. What's the approximate time frame from when this project might occur, so folks can know to keep an eye out for this machinery that's out there doing good things for us?
Yeah, I think we'll get started pretty quick. I would think we'd get started within the next couple of weeks, and then I expect to have it out a month to 2 months. It'll just depend on what other things we have going, but certainly once we do take possession of the rental unit, it behooves us to hit the catch basins hard and get that work done. But I'm expecting this to last a month to 2 months from this point in time.
Do our folks require any special training to operate this equipment, or is it consistent with the vehicle that we already have? And that
It is consistent with the vehicle that we already have, but we will get training on it. I don't know, I'm not for sure if we're going to have the exact same model that we currently own. They're all very similar, but they will be providing us training for the unit.
Excellent. Thank you.
Additional? Councilmember Gavin?
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very much. Just a real quick question. So this 1 to 2 month period, this is done just one time yearly, correct?
Correct. And actually, we cycle through all of the 1,800 catch basins every 2 years. So this is a 2-year budgeted activity, and you'll see that in the budget as well. So every 2 years, we get through all 1,800 of the catch basins.
And then more just a little curious. So what would be the market price for a new? I guess it varies because I saw in the packet that one you could buy a 2018 version for $385,000 or a version that was rebuilt.
Yeah, these units are extremely expensive. I mean, they're in the range of $400,000 and higher. I mean, this is a very
Makes
expensive
it valuable to rent in this
piece of
case.
equipment. It is.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we will be getting, similar to last time, insurance documents through our provider that will insure us. That is a requirement that we provide them with those insurance documents, which we did last time through the MML, and it wasn't a problem. So we'll be doing the same thing this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no additional questions or comments, thank you, Derek, for being here to explain all of that and answer all those questions. Seeing no additional questions, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M26 and 19?
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennan?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
And Turbrack.
Yes. M2619 has been approved. We now move on to agenda item number 9, please.
Motion number M2719, matter of approving to extend the cross-connection control program to HydroCorp of Troy, Michigan for a period of 2 years expiring in April 2021 at a cost not to exceed $1,658 per month from account number 59253682200 cross connections.
Is there a motion to approve M2719?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, supported by Councilmember Dean. Mr. Baumgart.
Mr. Mayor, as indicated in the motion, this is a proposed continuation of an existing relationship we have with HydroCorp. They've been working with us for quite a while, and we'd like to see that relationship continue. Your packet includes a justification memo as well as some contract language on the extension itself. I think it's kind of outlines the scope of services of what HydroCorp already does for us, so which Mr. Schuler is more than happy to explain, I am sure.
Thank you. And so the state of Michigan requires us to have a comprehensive cross-connection control program. And in short, what that is a cross-connection is defined as a private plumbing arrangement that could potentially negatively impact the public drinking water system. In a nutshell, that's what cross-connections are. So as a community, we have to make sure that that doesn't happen. And it's a very in-depth process and program. The primary focus is on non-residential businesses, commercial, but residential is also part of the picture. And I'm proud to say that we have taken those initial steps on the residential side and will be taking those steps for many years to come. The criteria for cross-connection inspection is based on the type of hazard. So those areas that have the higher hazard, non-residential, are inspected and have more requirements more frequently. Residential tend to be at the lower end of that scale. So 3 years ago, we went through the public bidding process, and HydroCorp was the lowest qualified bid at that time. and we've been working with them ever since. Our contract allows for a single 2-year extension with them. I'm happy to report we've had the same price with them since year 1, and HydroCorp is willing to extend that monthly price for the 2-year term that we're seeking tonight. And then after the 2 years, we will be going out for a public bid again. So it's a very comprehensive process. HydroCorp, I think, is a leader in this field. In fact, I said over 100 communities in the state of Michigan, and Jerry, who's joining me from HydroCorp tonight, mentioned that it's now well over 160 in the state of Michigan. So HydroCorp is serving many, if not most, of our neighbors, as well as several communities in the state. So we're seeking a 2-year extension with HydroCorp to keep this ball rolling, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And Jerry's here as well, and he can help me if need be.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for being here tonight, and thank you for also keeping that 2016 pricing through 2021. Appreciate that. Questions for Derek or Jerry? Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Derek, is it possible we can get a report or a status as to how we're doing on this? I know we've been doing it, and everything I hear is we're doing good, but I haven't seen any numbers or anything that we have completed. Have we completed the businesses? Have we completed the commercial? What's our plan for residential? Some kind of an update?
Sure. I'm happy to provide that. I have all that information. We have an annual report that we are required to submit to the state of Michigan, so I'm happy to share that information.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Councilmember Hennan?
Yes, is this something that once we've inspected everyone, we're done, or is this going to be a continual process forevermore?
This will be a continual process forevermore. So the state sets those guidelines based on the hazards, and there's inspection frequencies that we have to follow.
Right. And when you do residential inspections, what should the homeowner expect?
Sure, great question. So on the residential side, really the primary things that we're looking at, and Jerry can step in here if he'd like, sprinkler systems inherently have, backflow preventers on them, and those devices need to be tested and certified to make sure that you're not impacting the public water system. So if you have a sprinkler system, you're automatically going to have something that you need to look at. Hose bibs are the other major component from the residential side. So there's hose bib backflow preventers, if you will, that you screw on to a hose bib that would prevent water from entering inside, as opposed to the one-way direction that we all want it to go. So really those hose bibs as well as the sprinkler systems are really the two focus areas. Jerry, did I get it all right?
You got it
all right. So those are the two areas that homeowners are going to want to pay attention to. Again, on the residential side, we have taken those first steps. We will be doing residential cross connections for many, many years to come. So if you're at home now and you haven't received a notice or haven't seen anything yet, you'll get there. It's just a matter of, we have so many inspections that we have to do. The vast majority of those are on the non-residential side, but we're happy to report that we're moving into the residential component as well, and that's a good thing for all of us.
And do you leave a notice, we need to schedule an inspection and set that up with the homeowner?
Exactly, they do, and I've seen those notices, and they check in with our department at DPW regularly, which I'm very grateful for. In fact, they have sandwich boards when they're working in the neighborhood, so I've seen very positive things about, who are these folks and what are they doing as far as that goes. Certainly we get questions, and we're happy to answer those, but really it's gone very well introducing the residential side of things.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any additional questions or comments? Jerry, thank you for coming. Anything you wanna throw in there?
Well, I'll just throw in, so like for the residential side of everything, the residents will receive a notice 2 weeks prior to us being on site, so they're well aware that we're gonna be there. So that was the last thing I just wanted to clear on, so thank you.
Well, thank you, and then seriously, thank you again for being here. It's always nice to have potential contractors who feel that it's important enough for them to actually be here to be able to answer any questions and clarify things for us. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having us.
Seeing no additional questions or comments, see if we can make your night. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M2719?
Hennan.
Yes.
Stedman. Yes. Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes.
Thank you.
There you go. Thank you. Ms. Boucher, would you please read the next item on tonight's agenda, item number 10?
Motion number M2819, matter of authorizing the city manager to sign the application for additional service credit purchase for Lisa Foreman, approving 2 years of additional service credit. This service credit purchase is allowed by the City of Berkley Merit System of Human Resource Management, Section 1001.08, and meets all the requirements of the MERS plan document, which would allow for this service credit purchase.
Is there a motion to approve M2819?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Councilmember Gavin with support from Councilmember Stedman. Mr. Baumgart.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since about 1999, our merit system has included a provision that would allow an existing employee who meets specific parameters, both our own parameters as well as MERS parameters, to purchase additional service credits up to 24 months. In this case, that's what Ms. Foreman is looking to do. Ms. Foreman's a dispatcher. She's been with us for 15 years. I believe she brought in 10 years of experience from a previous employer as well. Because she meets those parameters, the next step would be to bring it to the City Council and ask that City Council approves moving forward to an official evaluation, which is actually done by MERS. At that point, we're anticipating to split the cost of the service credit purchase. The employee, Ms. Foreman, will pay $4,644. The city pays $23,484. As noted in the memo included in the packet, this may seem like a lot, but that's because it's hitting us all at one time. The city would actually pay more over a 2-year period into MERS on behalf of the employee. So the reason why we have this as a policy of the city and the reason why it benefits the city is it's the differential between the calculation of net present dollars and then the obligations over the next 24 months, what they would otherwise be. And so we do feel this is a win-win, and which is why it has been our policy for 20 years now in the very specific cases as outlined by, there's 4 sections in 1001.08. Pollock, who was not able to be here this evening, did include in the packet the excerpts from the merit system document that outlines the 4 parameters that need to be met by the employee. And I'm more than happy to answer any additional questions. Again, like I say, we feel this is mutually beneficial for both the city as well as the employee.
Councilmember Hennon?
Yes. So while it's a savings for 2 years, we anticipate that it'll be a long-term savings, and it isn't going to be an ongoing cost as we pay out the pension for this.
That's absolutely correct. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no additional questions and comments, I think the city manager did a very good job of explaining the particulars of this item and why it's in front of us today and why we are going to be voting on it momentarily, so thank you for that. Seeing no additional questions or comments, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M2819?
Stedman?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennon?
Yes.
And Turbrack.
That is correct. Ms. Boucher, what's next on the agenda?
Communications, Mayor Pro Tem Baker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Cool. So a couple quick updates. The Downtown Development Authority DDA Board met last week, the 10th, continuing to focus on the budget among other items. As was noted earlier, the Coolidge Safety Program begins as soon as next week. Keep an eye out for that. And in conjunction with the Chamber, there will be the Berkley Biz After Hours event on May 1st from 5:15 to 7 o'clock at Berkley Commons. And for more information about the city's downtown master plan, visit berkeleydowntownplan.com. And to see more information about the Coolidge project and other cool things going on within our downtown area, downtownberkeley.com. The Historical Committee met yesterday, Sunday the 14th. And hooray, for the Berkeley History Month. We had a great presentation from that committee earlier in this evening's adventures. And keep an eye out for that new display, the Berkeley's Favorite Dining Spots. It's sure to be a tasty exhibit for us all. The museum is open most Sundays from 2 to 4 and most Wednesdays from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. The Technology Advisory Committee meets in 2 days' time on the 17th, focusing on some productivity opportunities to help improve the city operations, which is pretty cool, in addition to plugging into the department needs as they prepare the budgets for the upcoming fiscal year. And finally, continuing the History Month kind of thing, it was Confucius who once said, "Study the past if you would define the future." And so it was on this day, today, the 15th, that President Lincoln passed away. The Titanic sank. But on brighter notes, it was the first telephone line was installed in 1887. Charles Lindbergh flew the very first mail route from the mail route between Chicago and St. Louis in 1926. In 1947, Jackie Robinson became the first African-American player in the big leagues. And most importantly for some of us here anyway, the very first McDonald's opened by Ray Kroc in 1955. What history will we make together? I'm excited to be a part of this journey and look forward to continuing our adventures. Thank you much.
Thank you. Councilmember Stedman.
Thank you. The Beautification Committee, first of all, we could use some members. We have an unlimited membership. So if anyone is interested in becoming a member of the Beautification Committee and looking for projects and things to do around the city that would make our city more presentable, we would really appreciate you putting your application in. We're meeting on the 28th, and I think we're meeting like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but I'm not quite sure about that, 28th of April, at the bus stop by 12 in Woodward, and we're going to be taking care of that bus stop and then maybe moving on to some other things to do some work on that day. The library, please, again, see the website. They're meeting at 6:30 this Wednesday so they can interview some applicants for the opening that the library board has right now. The Citizens Engagement Advisory Committee meets May 1st, and they're meeting at 6 o'clock because they are also interviewing some people for openings on that committee. If you have a desire to be on any committee, you can put an application in any time, whether we need a member at that time or not. But you can put your application in any time. Just come up to City Hall and fill one out. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. We all know that we're getting the road diet, and with that comes bike lanes. I'm concerned that a lot of our people don't know all the rules and regulations about bike lanes. I've printed off some of these, what every Michigan driver should know about bike lanes, and we'll leave them here either on a table over there at the clerk's counter. So if you have any concerns or any questions about how you navigate down Coolidge when we have bike lanes and bike riders, I would say get a hold of one of these. If there's a request for more of them, city manager can let me know. We'll get some more of them. So we want to get out to everybody that wants one. So thank you. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Councilmember Dean.
Hi, I have some updates from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. A big thank you to the Junior Women's Club for all their efforts and hard work on Breakfast with the Bunny. It was a huge success, and a lot of great pictures are on social media about that event, and it looks like everybody had a good time. Arbor Day Tale on the Trail at J.C. Park is April 25th at 6 p.m., and the Tri-Community Health and Wellness Fair with the cities of Berkley, Huntington Woods, and Oak Park is on May the 5th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Gillum Recreation Center in Huntington Woods. That's all.
Councilmember Henman.
Thank you. The Environmental Committee hasn't met since our last meeting, but their next meeting is Thursday, April 25th at 6:30 at the Public Safety Building. The Tree Board did meet, and some of the things we discussed were looking at techniques so that as we plant trees that we try and protect damage from sidewalks and things like that. We're looking at the Asian longhorn beetle. It's worse than the emerald ash borer, and it's headed towards us. It's not imminent, but we're keeping our eye out. And related to that, we're looking at our tree selection for the fall tree planting program, just to make sure that we're getting a diversity of species, so that even if, you know, the Asian longhorn beetle or the next, you know, threat comes along, you know, it doesn't totally destroy all of our trees. And mentioning again the Arbor Day Tale on the Trail, part of that will be a tree planting. They'll be planting 2 or 3 new trees at JC Park. And yeah, again, that's 6 p.m. on Thursday, April 25th. And then the tree board, as well as, I believe, the beautification and I think the communications committee are looking for student representatives. So if you're a Berkeley High School student and interested in serving on any of those boards, they all have openings and are looking for people. The tree board's next meeting is Monday, May 13th, 7 p.m. at the library. And then the final comment I have is just with the road diet, with it coming, we still have a lot of unfulfilled promises that we've made the residents so far as getting materials and things and the evaluation matrix finalized before it starts. So I really want to see administration, you know, get that done. You know, we're short on time now, so we need to finish that up. Thank you.
Councilmember Gavin.
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple quick things. Planning Commission will meet April 23rd at 7:30 here in Council Chambers. There was no Coolidge Task Force or ZBA meeting last month. No currently scheduled ZBA meeting for May. Coolidge Task Force probably will take place on May 2nd around 8 a.m., but that's not confirmed yet. So that's just based on past trends. That's what we're looking at. So. Last thing, just wasn't able to be here last meeting because being pretty under the weather, but and I know many other members touched on this, but I wanted to say how beneficial and informational the MML Capitol Conference was. I was able to attend some sessions on voting and election updates, economic development, kind of sharing the city stories through resident communication and engagement, housing issues, and honestly, probably the best portion of it was the importance of civil discourse, treating people with respect, you know, sort of operating from the same set of facts and not ascribing any ill will towards any other residents or city officials or anything like that merely because there was just a disagreement on the issue. So it was a good reminder, honestly, that honest collaboration and a true willingness to solve problems can be achieved through that respectful dialogue. So it was really well done, and I certainly hope that, you know, as members of the council and members of the community, that we kind of take that to heart. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Baumgarten.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I want to update the council on the situation down at Oakshire and Royal, which was the residents came in and reported last time that not enough progress had been made. They were absolutely correct. Since that time, we've had a couple of developments, this being spring and having the contractor back in was beneficial. We were able to both issue and serve a tickets onto that gentleman with the help of Berkeley Public Safety. They actually went to the gentleman's home in the evening to serve that ticket directly to him. So kudos to them, and the work is much appreciated. Again, administratively, we've halted all additional projects undertaken by this gentleman, both him and his subcontractors. Just as important, we continue to remain in constant communication with the residents down there. We've got, as Ms. Couples, who led the discussion last time on behalf of our neighbors, has been incredibly kind in sharing information with all of our neighbors, even when we can't have one-to-one conversations. When we have been able to, I know I've sat in a couple living rooms since that point, and Tim McLean and our building official, Dave, has also been down there meeting one-on-one with some of the residents as well, outlining what our plan is. Our plan now includes 2 phases. The first is the installation of a drain at 1927 that'll relieve some of the chronic flooding both at 27 as well as 1915. Phase 2 is we're able to endeavor upon phase 1 and actually hire our own contractor and become firmly in control of that project, which is one of the reasons why we now see it moving forward. Thankfully, we've got a willing property owner at 1927 who was lended permission to help us get onto the property. and begin the work of planning out and doing everything we need to do in advance of construction for that property. So her cooperation is greatly appreciated. What we're calling phase 2 is the connection of the two segments of the former drain that was there through collaboration with a couple of other private homeowners. The homeowner at 1943 is on board with connecting those items, and then through the court, we hope to get permission to either compel the property owner or do the work ourselves to regrade 1951, which was the property that really started all of this, in order to get that done. So there's a lot going on. We've got some promising work. We've been reaching out and communicating this with the neighbors as well. And so I want to also make the city council aware of what's gone on since the previous time we've checked in.
Thank you. Mr. Starron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And what the city manager just said is sort of a good segue into my brief report to you tonight about some of the ordinances that we're working on. As I said, that's a good segue, because as that particular matter that we're dealing with on Royal has brought out into plain view, is that our residential draining regulations and our city code are a little bit light. And so we're working with staff. The economic development directors put together a rough draft that the city manager and I are working with him, with the expectation that at some point in the very near future we'll be bringing some beefed up residential draining regulations. Nothing draconian, but just to basically put our regulations where they should be, to give us more effective means and tools to deal with these types of situations and to prevent them from arising to begin with, which is really the important part. Also, really, I guess, flowing from the meeting that we had, I think it was our last meeting, where we talked about marijuana businesses. We're working again with the city manager of trying to put together a draft ordinance framework or package to bring back to council again very soon, to start working more toward the direction, I guess, and implementation that council was seeking over the next, really the rest of the year, so that we'll know where we're going on this and how we want to regulate these types of businesses. The last thing that I'll mention right now is we are also working on an ordinance. I think this is something that was discussed. I know Councilman Blanchard provided some information, but in view of the fairly recent change in the law at the end of the year concerning the regulation of small cell and DAS installations and antenna within our public rights of way, we again are looking at our ordinance and expect to bring back to you an updated, amended ordinance that will be consistent with the new state law, but again will give us the necessary tools we need to not to prevent, but to regulate these installations in an orderly manner. They're not going away. We're only going to see a lot more of them. The technology is here. It's only going to grow. And like I said, we want to make sure it's done in an orderly way and in a way that efficiently uses our rights of way in a non-disruptive way, doesn't interfere with our other infrastructure. Our utility, excuse me, our rights of way are getting very crowded with all the public and private infrastructure located there.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, okay, thank you. Just a few comments this evening. So, as many of you know, Easter is the Sunday. We are in Holy Week right now, and I've been off the old Facebook during Lent, so probably be back maybe soon. But while I may have missed some of the discussions on there over the past 40 days, I have not missed the lack of potential stress, the varying disagreements or discussions on everything and anything where everybody else is apparently experts. Interesting, though, it gave me an opportunity, an insight on to see how folks who are not on social media at all, how they get their information, how they hear about things from the community. And that it was definitely new. I think we tend to rely on electronic communications a lot in the city, probably too much. I know the CEAC has been working, certainly looking at ways to improve communications with everybody in the community to make sure that everybody is aware of what is going on, whatever your preferred method of communication or news may be. And I say that as a precursor to my next comments, which are on the Coolidge project that has been mentioned and referenced a number of times today by a number of different folks, going back all the way to citizens' comments. Before I do that, though, I do want to thank the DDA and the CEAC for their communications plan. The communications plan was very well thought out, thorough, and did make sure to try to reach out to every resident in various ways. But, like many of you, I was pretty surprised when I all of a sudden read that the project was going to start last week or this week, before our council's very explicit recommendations, or not recommendations, but instructions were met. Like my colleagues up here, I immediately made phone calls to various people saying, what in the heck is going on? I think I can say that on TV. Either way, I did. And it's not because we weren't happy with the project. The project, we understand why we voted the way that we did, but because council agreed not to move forward until certain metrics were in place. And if you guys recall at the time of the vote, metrics to ensure that we're obtaining the desired results was a critical missing component for me. Like, we have a lot of different things, but that was in particular, how are we actually going to judge if this is bringing the intended results or if it is not? And at that point, we didn't have it yet when the project was just about to start. I did meet with the city manager and the DDA director to make sure that council's expectations will be met prior to the project beginning. The evaluation matrix that we have, and even the latest release that I saw, is very comprehensive. It is extremely comprehensive, the matrix. But the matrix alone, without clear data to evaluate whether or not we have acceptable deviations in what is allowed or in what we're going to accept, renders it kind of meaningless without that. That's probably the most important piece of information that we need. We need to clearly define what success looks like for this project, and we also need to clearly define what is not success, because if it's not, we need to have the ability to go back, which we will do if it gets to that point. We have the raw data from the traffic collections. We will be receiving a recommendation on what acceptable variation could look like from a third party, an expert in the field, but ultimately council will have the final say on what is and is not acceptable, and that's going to have to happen in the very near future. I assume there will be communications coming out as soon as we get that report back. He is currently pouring through all of the data. So let me be clear that not a single, at least not a council member that I've spoken with and spoken to, and I think I've spoken to all of you over the past week, was ready for this project to just move forward without having those things in place. I understand that some of us maybe are more involved in being on social media. Some of us prefer to use other avenues to communicate with each other. But I can assure you that we all feel the same way, and we need to be united on this project moving forward, because we've put a lot of time and energy into this project, and it's not going to be successful if it doesn't start the right way. And that's something that, well, I'm not speaking for, well, I am speaking for you guys. You guys voted yes. We need to make sure that that happens. You know, I hear from some people especially recently, that because I'm not posting on various message boards or downtown sites or wherever they are, that, you know, I just don't care about anything in the city. I choose to have my conversations when I need to have a conversation with somebody in private. That's how I'm always going to do it. That's how I've done it. I don't need to play anything out in public for anybody else to see. I just don't, that's not how I would ever approach it. Doesn't mean that other people don't. That's their preferred method, and that's fine. That's their choice. But that is that's how I'm going to do it. So if you have any other, you know, concerns or questions, please talk to me directly. I'll be more than happy to speak with you directly. But I haven't used those avenues in the past, and I'm not going to start doing that now. It's not how I operate. But regardless, council members share those same concerns, and we're going to make sure that we have those things in place before this project gets off the ground. That's all I have. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned by Councilmember Stedman.
Support.
With support, Councilmember Gavin. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Hennan?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes, the April 15th, 2000 meeting of the 37th Council has been adjourned.
This wasn't too taxing of a conversation.